Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Home Rockstar Podcast. I'm excited for today's guest. We are talking to the owner of Webb CFO, and what she does is she brings financial transparency to people's businesses, which is something that I think eludes a lot of people. So I'm excited to hear more about that a little bit later. But first, are you ready to rock, Sarah?
Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome. So we always start off here at a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Yeah, I think, I left corporate America in 2018, and I think my success is really just managing my business on a day-to-day basis, but also having a life. I have two children, one husband, and three pets. And so everybody's got a schedule, and, I get to live life to the fullest. And, sometimes that means waking up early or staying up late, but I try not to miss events and things that we really want to do as a family.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a huge success. That's one of the reasons why I want to run this podcast in the first place is to tell people that you can actually design a life and make your work fit into that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So now it isn't all, sunshine and rainbows though. So some things don't go as planned. I'm wondering if you can share with us something that doesn't work out or didn't work out and how we recovered.
Yeah. So I actually had left corporate America in 2018 or 2015, late that year, and started another business in 2016 that ultimately wasn't successful.
Yeah.
And so I had to close that business down. I sold off a part of it in 2019. And I just felt like so sad, so devastated, like, oh, I thought I could make it. And that business was really focused on marketing, and I had to be really great at sales and cold call people and pump my product. And I think ultimately all of those lessons that I learned through something that was outside of my comfort zone, right? I'm a CPA, like I can work a spreadsheet all day long, but going out and selling and promoting something was definitely outside of my zone of genius. But I think that experience helped me promote my accounting practice, right? Like I am an expert in accounting, and there are certain skills that I have, and being able to talk about them and market them that's how you grow your business. And so even though that ultimately wasn't like bad note slash, not the ending, but definitely would have preferred that it be more successful than it was. I definitely used that experience to really lift up my business and focus on sales really from the beginning of when I started my accounting practice.
Yeah. Also, it's a great story. And I think one of the things that people don't necessarily want to hear, especially when they're starting a business, is that you kind of have to have at least a little bit of sales comfort, I guess, when you're going to start your business, especially if you're going to be self-employed, because no one else can do it for you. You've got to get out there and do something with it, right? And I think that that's one of those things that I think sales should be like in a basic curriculum of every school. Or- but there should be something that we can do. So I'm glad that you were able to like kind of pull some of the lessons that you learned out of there and to help you grow your other business, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about keeping the hat full. And I think this kind of comes right down your alley, right? We're talking about numbers. So how do you make sure that your cash flow is positive?
So, so I'm look at my numbers every day, and I know that that may give fear to some people, but I'm also a profit first professional, and so what that does is that's a methodology on cash flow. And once we work with a business, and I've done this for my own business, I did this for my husband's business. It's a methodology of every single dollar that comes in goes into a certain type of bucket, and that's ensuring that I have enough to pay my team members, enough to pay myself, enough to run the operations. Um, I got really my husband's an attorney, he's self-employed, and I just got angry with him, partly being a spouse and partly being a CPA. It was like at the end of the month, it was like, "Where did all your money go?" And he's a bright person and I'm a bright person, like, we should be able to figure this out. And when we implemented the cash flow methodology of profit first into his business, he said he never slept better. He always knew where his money was going and what it should be doing, and it just gave him such peace of mind as a business owner. And so after I saw kind of the transformation of me not having to be an angry spouse over you're not making enough money or you're always reinvesting and not bringing money home, all those kind of conversations stopped, and I started implementing it for myself and for my clients. And so really it's just a percentage allocation, and it kind of depends on what your business goals are, and you kind of have an assessment to begin with. And I guess if you ever had the tax scaries of like, you made money and now you have to pay the money and you don't know where that money is coming from or where you're going to scrounge up that money, this really alleviates a lot of that. And so we're still continuing to do it in both of our businesses today.
Well, that tax thing has happened to me twice in the last 15 years since I've been. So what do you
It's
think I
painful.
learned the first time, right? But
Well, sometimes the lesson has to be super painful for you to learn. But, I think kind of talking about sales and curriculum, I mean, I don't know why we don't prepare at least a basic tax return, a 1040, or, just
yep.
understanding. My kids are 13 and 15. And so we just went over FICA. I'm like, okay, like you're going to start getting your first job, but that doesn't mean you're getting that at $10 an hour. There's taxes after that.
Yeah, well, and both times for me that I got into that trouble was actually in a really good year.
Yes.
Really good years really hurt me. Because all of a sudden you've got all this money coming in, and I ended up just not really accounting for the extra tax they
Sure.
take on those on that new bracket, right? But
Yeah.
but you're right. I think there should be more about that taught. I mean, you don't really get into taxes at all, actually, unless you are self-employed. Then all of a sudden you're forced into it, right?
Right. Yeah. And it is sometimes the years where you're most successful that hurt the most because you're celebrating. You're like, "Man, I've knocked
Yeah.
it out of the park. Like I'm going to go do X or I'm going to buy this thing that I've wanted." And then you're like, "Oh, surprise." To me the managing the surprises is, you know, that it is painful and it I just you gotta learn the lesson. I wish there was a better way. So I guess if you're a new business owner, read Profit First by Mike Malawatsky. I always say it wrong. It's just a primer on kind of how to do those buckets, and it's taken a lot of the frustration out of two people who run their own business, and we don't have to fight about taxes anymore.
Yeah. I have to check that out too. I mean, I do sort of like a bucket thing too. Mine came from, man, what came from, what was it, from The Millionaire Mind? Secrets of the Millionaire Mind was a book that I read a long, long, long
Yeah,
time ago. And that's where the buckets come from for the process that I use with my spreadsheets. But
yeah,
is
it's
this
probably
similar? Or?
similar. It's
Yeah.
similar. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with those buckets. Actually, I've got my son actually he was just asking about budget stuff, and I've got him using envelopes right now. Like,
Yeah.
I just think it really does work well when you've got sort of like this allotted amount of money that when it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I've created an extra bucket. I call it the vault because it's like I need to put it in a different bank and make it a little inaccessible to my, like, I really need to tap into that money, not just, have it be an easy transfer. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do that as well. Actually, now I do it with my financial advisor. So basically, it goes over to him. Technically, I can get it back, but I call him and convince him that I need it.
yeah, if it requires a few more steps, you always kind of pause and like, do I really need to, spend on that? And I think that's a lot when you're thinking about cash flow. Kind of depending on where you are in the stage of your business, what are your goals? Where are you wanting to invest in marketing or do you need to bring on another person and kind of building little mini savings accounts to help you invest in that at the right time?
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Hey, we could talk about that forever, but let's go to the next next topic is about the band. And I mean, we've kind of been touching on that. Like, so who are the people that you have around you in your business?
Yeah, so we are a team of 8, including myself. When I first started the practice, I was definitely using subcontractors and just due to the nature of their work and just needing more people, everyone has been converted to an employee. That's a real hot spot right now for the IRS. And so all of our team members are full-time employees. So we're running payroll and kind of doing all of that. But we have an operations manager. That was a really big investment in last year of taking one of our great bookkeepers and delegating a portion of her hours to just helping us be organized. And so I don't I don't know. As a business owner and a CPA, I'm really thrifty. Like I always feel like, oh, if I can do it myself while I'm watching TV, I should just do it. Like it's not that hard to make my own flights or it's not that hard to respond to this email. Um, but at the same time, I'm getting drained and you're always turning on. And so really having someone who can help me manage the management of the practice versus always having to be, doing it at different times of the day or, being delayed. That has helped us. But we have a really consistent workflow and process. Like what we're doing is a monthly process every single month. So, we have workflows and those types of things, but we have a few other managers, other bookkeepers, and then the operations manager on our team.
Well, yeah, and that's really it's a good point to make too, because just because you can do it all, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be really awesome at it all. And also, I think there's like a misconception about multitasking. It's like you're not doing two things at once. You're doing one
Sure.
thing, then switching to the other thing, and then switching back and forth. And it takes a little bit of energy to do that, right? And you I know for in music for sure, you sort of get into like a groove,
Yep.
like a vibe or like a roll. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? And things are going great. And then all of a sudden you gotta do a different task. So you gotta start all over again and get into that roll like groove, right? So, when you have somebody on your team that's what they love to do, well then why not give it to them and let them be super excited about doing it, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I looked at the cost. I'm like, okay, could this free up this much more of my time? Is that increasing my lifestyle in a way that, is kind of part of my overall goals? Or can I use some of that time to go out and work on my sales and marketing and meet people? And so, as an accountant, I kind of default to like, what's the cost benefit of this? And I did a little bit of that, but I was like, I'm just going to try this. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
If I get this type of help and support and it doesn't work out, well, then I'll just go back to what I'm doing. So, I like to experiment with business concepts and, I don't want to do anything detrimental, and definitely having been with a business that I closed and sold, like, got some tire marks on my back from that. But I think it's in good, I like to experiment, and I kind of ask myself, what's the worst that could happen? Well, I could change my mind in 90 days and decide to do something different. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and in 90 days. Okay, so you give yourself, like, a allocated amount of time to try it out for.
Yeah. I think 30 days for me personally is too short. It takes, like you talked about the groove. 90 days is generally 3 months, and accounting, that's like a quarter. Like that's like how we work on our
Yeah,
financial statements. But even just like the rhythm of life, like I said, my kids are 13 and 15, you kind of have like fall semester, spring semester, summer. And so that kind of takes some time for our family to get into the rhythm of, okay, this is how our life is during this period of time.
yeah. I talk about 3 months all the time as well, with momentum. I find that it just in my experience, it takes 3 months to build that momentum, and then it also takes 3 months to lose it, and so I think that's probably pretty smart. By the time 3 months hits, if you're not just rocking and rolling, well, it probably means it's not going to.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So, let's talk a little bit about your jam room. So, like, actually, how long have you been working from home, and what's your space look like?
So I've been working home since 2018, and well, I guess 2016, in this business since 2018. And actually, I was thinking, when getting ready for this podcast, we just moved 2 years ago. So my other home, in both homes, I've had a dedicated office. My other home was in a more rural area. Like I had 3 acres, and like I didn't see my neighbors. And so it was very quiet. I mean, just a very dedicated space. Like people didn't walk in our neighborhood, Amazon packages, they didn't ring the doorbell, none of that business. Here, I call it the big city. Here in the big
Hmm.
city, I live in a very walkable neighborhood near a trail. And so people are always walking, kind of just exercise walking in front of my house. And I guess all the Amazon drivers ring the doorbell or people come up to your door. It's a lot more interruptions in my day that I had experienced before. And so that took definitely some getting used to, um, especially my dogs. I'm going to show you. So this has been a lifesaver.
What is
Okay,
that?
it's pet deterrent spray. So when we moved to the city, my dogs barked more than ever before. My dogs never barked before. And so because they see these people walking or more neighborhood people, they're barking a lot more. And I thought, again, after 90 days, even 6 months, I was like, they're going to get used to people walking in the neighborhood. We're here at 2 years and they still are barking.
Yeah, yeah.
But about a few months ago, someone mentioned it's called a pet deterrent spray, and it makes a noise that kind of frightens them, but not like it's not like a shock collar. Like it just like catches their attention and they stop barking. And I have totally noticed a much lower barking. So
Wow.
I'm a fan. It's on Amazon. I think it's $19. I mean, again, it's experimenting. I was like, well, I've lost $19 on other things, like, buy stupid stuff all the time. So far, so good. But my office space, I have a dedicated space. I have doors. I try to close them, kind of like shut
Mhm.
down my day. Yeah, it's a cozy space. I have a stand up desk, and I try to stand up for a few hours when I'm taking meetings, so that I'm not sitting all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've got a dog too. I've got a little toy poodle, and he's very barky. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
check that out for sure. Because there's a lot of benefits to having pets, and when you work from home, there is also the disadvantage of them, disrupting your role and your groove, right?
right. Yes.
So that's cool that you found that. Okay, definitely check that out. Sounds a little more humane than the shock collar too.
Sure.
Right on. So, okay, it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business.
We are just growing so much. I think more people are interested in getting their financial life in order, kind of as we've kind of shifted over the last few years of kind of had some oh wow moments on getting organized. And so, we're primarily helping small business owners really have that financial transparency. And that goes to maybe, Tim, you run around and you have your debit card and your credit card and you're running around charging all these things, and we'll reconcile your books at the end of the month. To we're working in your account every single day. Maybe you're a really large business that sends out invoices or things like that. Um, and I think what makes us different is we're not just delivering. We're not just like, "Oh, Tim, here's your financial reports. Good luck." I'm having those accountability conversations of like, "Hey, you told me this was your goal this year. You know, you're off track, or you're spending more in this area, or tell me what's happening here." And having a conversation and a business partner um, to really brainstorm with you on what that is. And we work with a variety of businesses. We actually have a music school that we've worked with for quite a bit, and, worked on their contracting with their clients and moving people to auto payment, and how that
Mm,
helped their cash flow. And so, financial transparency isn't just for some one type of business. You're wanting your business and your life's work to benefit you and your family and help you reach your goals.
yeah. So, okay, like I would think that you might have some people that would struggle to. They're feeling that they're not in control of their finances, and they don't have a whole lot of money. But now they're gonna go and hire somebody to do all that stuff, so they're gonna spend money doing it. Like, how do you sort of get through that conversation if they're thinking that I don't even have money right now? How can I hire somebody to handle my money?
Yeah, I think the first step is you need to probably have someone else do your tax return. So if you're not at that phase yet, that's really your first advisor. And kind of if you're having those difficult tax conversations, um, getting behind that and getting in front of those tax payments will be helpful. But I guess the flip side of that is, what if you don't? Like, what if you're continually in this state of chaos and you're not building the business that you want for your dreams? And for some of our clients, we do what was called a profit assessment. That's kind of our first 90 days. And it's like, hey, this is like your big goals. These are the things that you're telling us that you want to work on. Here are some of the things that you need to do. And sometimes clients are like, perfect, I'm going to take this plan and I'll call you back in 6 months and we'll have another conversation. Or sometimes you look at it and you're like, I don't want any part of that. And if you can help me make money to at least pay for yourself through some of these tweaks and ideas, then I'm all for it. So we really kind of work on kind of where the client needs that to be. But I think, gotta have your books in order for taxes, and you need to make that as seamless as possible. There's lots of great advisors and team members out there. Not everyone needs a CFO level person. Maybe you just need a regular bookkeeper to deliver your financials each month.
Well, and that was the next question. So, what do you work with? Like, who will be the ideal person that would get the most out of working with you?
Yeah, so because we have a team, a lot of our bookkeepers are doing that day to day and our managers are doing that some of that frontlining. Where I, as the CFO, am adding the most value is if you're needing to create a budget or a forecast, or maybe you're considering taking out a loan with the Small Business Administration or a bank for some type of investment. Any type of future forward looking kind of transaction, that's where a CFO type person can help you more than an accountant. An accountant is very rear view mirror, like this has already happened.
Yeah.
And all that has to be accurate and right. But the CFO piece is the forward looking piece. So we've helped clients through acquisitions, or maybe they've sold their business, or, they're looking at some type of big expansion of adding people or capital, we're able to help them with that forward-looking piece that's a little bit different than a bookkeeper or accountant.
Yeah, and it's just interestingly enough, you probably would be in a situation that you'd be able to help them figure out a way to afford you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because have you ever been in a circumstance where you're like, okay, you just can't afford me because you're right in there, you're seeing it, right?
Yeah, there are, and we have great partners that we are like, "Okay, when you get a little bit bigger, this type of partner is great for you. Call us back when you're ready for that big transaction." We've also helped clients on the other way of like, "You've outgrown us. Like, we're helping you every single day, and you could
Mm,
just pay someone, and we'll help find and screen a person because you're ready for a full-time person," right? Sometimes people get so big.
yeah,
So, yeah, we're definitely in that space. I think we add most value in getting organized, making sure you're hitting the right ratios of your payroll if you have a big team. Like for interior designers, we've helped them redraft their contracts to collect more money up front. Sometimes it's just having that business partner. That's not really accounting or finance, but it's just having that partner that understands your business of like, hey, have you thought about this? Or I work with several different industries. Let's bring something over from one of these other industries that I saw into your business. Like that worked for them. I could see how this could apply here. So, I think it's kind of our vast experience in different places that make us just a little bit more than accounting.
right on. Yeah. And I would think that that would be super valuable because, yeah, like you say, you're kind of like tapping into all these different industries and seeing what works and then able to bring them back and forth. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, so now, is there like a sort of like a minimum level that somebody has to be at in order to work with you?
There's not a minimum level where we're just looking to see if it's a good fit and we're looking at their overall budget. And there are times where like this isn't a good fit, but here's a great partner that we would refer you to. Um, and so we kind of have those conversations of, what are you wanting to spend, but what are you wanting to do? Like if you're just in a steady state and you're just rocking it how you are, you're probably not a good fit for us. But we can say, oh, this guy in town or this person that we are connected with would be great. We're really focused on, someone who's wanting to grow, buy, sell, really accelerate their piece because that's where we're adding the most value is that forward-looking piece.
Nice. Okay. And so is this like a free consultation? Like how do people find out more about this?
Yeah, well, so what we do first is it's called a profit assessment, and that's really a report card of where you are today. And
Mhm.
then from that, we'll say, this is the monthly, like if you want to work with us on a monthly basis, this is what it could look like. If you wanted to implement some of this on your own, go off and then come back. And we work with clients in a variety of ways. We do have some packages, but most of the stuff we do is hourly. Um, just because our businesses are growing and changing. I have one client, I feel like he adds one new legal entity a year. He's a mega entrepreneur. He's always full of ideas of how to grow and expand. And so we're happy to take those calls.
So you can work sort of like as a consultant that helps someone do it themselves, and just checks in regularly and
Yeah,
all the way up to someone who actually is right in your business and you're
yep,
helping them that way. Awesome.
absolutely.
So how do we find out more?
Well, our website is our easiest way, Web CFO, and that's where all of our things are on there. You can learn a little bit more about our individual team members. We're on all the socials. Accountants, we don't have a lot of pictures of us just working behind, computers. We do have other things that we enjoy, but yeah, find us Web CFO. That's where we are in all the places.
And that's WEBB, two B's.
Two B's, yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Sarah. This has been really cool.
Yes, great learning more about your business and, great listeners of all different types of, bringing different information. I think it's great for everybody.
Love it. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast.